topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, Tampa. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. We've got an incredible show for you this morning. We are going to be talking about money, wealth management to be exact. Our expert is Ray Ferrara. He is one of the top wealth management experts, not only in the Tampa area, but nationwide. And we are going to be talking about, you're going to get information on this show that you might not even hear anywhere else, because we get down into the nitty gritty and we have so many people call us and thank us for Ray's show. And I believe he is in our green room right now. Let me welcome Ray Ferrara, Provise Wealth Management. Good morning, Ray.
Steve, good morning. Very nice to be with you.
Good to see you. And I see you got your sweater vest on.
It's a little chilly here in Tampa this morning. Not too bad. We're going to get up into the 60s, but it'll be nice to have a little something extra on.
Ray, before you tell everybody about Provise, I got to tell you, we are getting inundated by text messages. People not understanding. They say, we hear on the TV how great the economy is doing now. But we go to the grocery store, or we go to buy a house, or we go to the gas station, and it's telling us completely different. Can you explain that to everybody?
Well, it's something that we've all been experiencing the last couple of years called inflation. And the issue is the dichotomy, I guess is the best way to look at it, is the rate of inflation has come down significantly over the last couple of years. At the very height of the inflation issues, we saw it reach 9% year over year. Today, we're just a little below 4%. So we've come down rather dramatically. But inflation is still, prices are still going up. And with the exception of things like gasoline, perhaps food, which have a lot of variability to it, prices for everything else are still much higher than they were 2 years ago. So what we're seeing is the rise in inflation is not as dramatic as it was, but we also see that what we have experienced over the last several years with inflation, arguably cumulatively about a 15% increase in price, most prices across the board, is staying there and is very permanent. At least for the moment. And it is unlikely that those prices are going to go back down in any dramatic way. I mean, rents, as an example, have increased dramatically. They're not increasing as fast, but they're still very high. The costs to buy a home are up dramatically, both in terms of purchase price as well as interest rates. And so that's what people are continuing to feel today. And as I still shake my head every time I go to Publix because I can't get out of there without spending at least $100
Exactly.
under any circumstances. And it's not unusual to find myself spending $200 just going and scratching my head as I walk out and say, what did I buy? So hope that helps.
And Ray, I also I have a restaurant show here in South Florida we do on tonight. And I am seeing a lot of restaurants still going out of business. But the main reason I hear is leases are going up. And, you would think that these landlords would at least try to keep the links where they're at. I mean, the leases where they're at. So it's so many things that are just continue to go up. And I look at gas prices and boy, they just fluctuate almost daily.
Well, certainly they are. We've been very fortunate in spite of the events in Ukraine, which put some crimped supplies on the Russian oil markets around the world. And certainly the unfortunate events that are going on in the Gaza Strip and thus the greater Middle East. But at the moment, we've seemed to manage ourselves through things as far as energy is concerned without prices spiking the way many thought that it would as a result of those two. But clearly they're holding them up. At this point, assuming things don't escalate any worse in the Middle East, I would think that oil prices would remain in a range of $70 to $90 a barrel, which should make oil companies happy. It should make oil producers in any place around the world happy because they can still make money at $70 a barrel. They may make more at 90, but there's enough supply at the moment that prices shouldn't spike. But if a oil tanker was going through the Red Sea, the Straits of Hormuz, going into the Suez Canal, is attacked, it's going to cause some serious issues. So a lot of the costs of energy are not just dependent on the supply and demand, but on the perception of things that are going around the world, which we simply can't control. Any of us can.
Right. Excellent.
We just have to do the best we can.
I kind of went backwards just basically because we're getting so many people asking the same question, but tell people about Provise Wealth Management.
Well, Steve, Provise Management Group is a firm that I founded back in 1986. So we're going to be celebrating our 37th year here in the Tampa Bay area. And over that time, we've grown to a firm that is serving about 1,200 families scattered over 34 states. The vast majority are in Florida, and the vast majority of those in Florida are here in the Tampa Bay area. But we are working with people outside of the state of Florida and outside of the Tampa Bay area. But we see ourselves as a financial planning firm first and foremost. We see investments, insurance, education planning, retirement planning, legacy planning. All of those things are a subset of a financial plan. And so the vast majority of our individual clients will begin with a written financial plan, because we remain absolutely convinced that you can be successful without a plan, but the odds of being successful increase dramatically if you have a plan. Without a plan, it's more by accident than it is by actual discipline, etc. So when we work with folks, it's not just about investments. That's what everybody thinks about, but we actually do the planning piece. Before joining the show this morning, Was talking with the client for the past hour, and we spent a good 30 minutes around his retirement planning, having nothing to do with investments per se, and legacy planning. He and his wife had children late in life, and the children are like 12 years old, and he's approaching retirement. And how do you make those plans to preserve the wealth, asset protection? How do you protect it not only for the client today, but for his children in the future and her grandchildren? So it's much more than just about investing. And as you know, we always offer a 1-hour complimentary consultation in our offices of Clearwater or Tampa, or by Zoom, to folks to learn more about what they need and what they want, and to see if we can help. And if we can't help, we'll be the first to tell them and try to refer them to someone who can help them with whatever their financial needs may be.
My brother-in-law was a doctor, then became a major hospital administrator. And he told me that he could have never done his own financial planning, even with all that he knew. That he explained to me how important having a financial planner was to him, because even though he said I had a lot of knowledge, I still had a full-time job. Whereas my financial planner, that's all they do. And boy, he just gave kudos that just the fact that you have somebody that can plan this out for you is so important for your future.
Well, Steve, I have an expression I call TIK, T-I-K. It's time, inclination, and knowledge. And in order to do something and to do it well, you have to have the time to do it. You have to have the knowledge to do it, and you have to have the inclination to do it. As an example, my dad made sure all those many years ago, as I was growing up as a kid, that I would have the knowledge to cut the lawn. But I have neither the time or the inclination in this point in my life to do that. So I hire an expert to take care of the lawn. I don't have, I'd love to speak a second language. But I don't have the knowledge to do that at this point. And unfortunately, I don't have the time, even though I have the inclination to want to learn a second language, to do that. So, when I travel, I take my Google Assist with me, and they're my interpreter in the new world. So the same is true with money. All of us, hopefully, whatever it is that we're doing in life, are the best at what we're doing, but we all can't be the best at everything. And so hopefully folks will understand that it's not an expense to hire a firm like ours. It's an investment. Yes. In the long run, because we do have the time, the inclination, and the knowledge to help people. And given the complexities of finances today, it's difficult for the average person to do. Not that people can't do it, but it's difficult for most people to do it.
And we so appreciate your knowledge, and I know our listeners and viewers do too. Last month, the S&P 500 reached an all-new high, and it seems like it's continuing to move upward. How much longer is this rally going to continue, Ray?
Well, it is amazing what has happened with the equity markets. When you go back a year ago, as we've discussed previously, most people thought there was going to be a recession in 23 that would drive the stock market down, and that we would then perhaps come out of a recession during 2024. Just the opposite has happened. The economy has continued to grow. People are still being hired. Last month's January's job numbers were almost double what the expectation was. And the previous 2 months, December and November of 23, was increased by a significant number of new jobs. And as long as employers are continuing to hire people, they're doing it because they expect the future to be bright, not dim. And so we've continued to see the economy grow. And the market has really defied what most people would say are the odds. That said, it's fair to say that the market is at a very high multiple at the present time, depending upon how you measure it, 20 or 21 times earnings for the market, much higher for many individual companies like a NVIDIA or a Facebook, some of the Magnificent Seven. So our expectation is that the market is going to continue to trade within a narrow range with a bias to the upside throughout the rest of the year, until such time as the Federal Reserve clearly signals that it is going to begin reducing interest rates. And then at that point, I think there's an opportunity for a significant pop in the market at that time. In the meantime, what do you do when we're at a top of a market? One should, if they have cash, slowly invest the money into the market over several months, using a principle of dollar cost averaging. Invest the same amount of money each and every month until you've exhausted whatever the cash is that you're going to invest, so that you're buying into the market on an average. Don't try to time the market, thinking, well, I'll sell now and buy back when it's lower, because that's simply not a philosophy that has worked well over any lengthy period of time for anybody. You can occasionally get it right once, but it's hard to get it right twice.
Ray, it seems like we're always talking about on your show about Congress and kicking the can down the road. And again, with this new passage of spending bills, now they're extending the deadline to shut down the government to March 1st and March 8th. So now what's going to happen?
Well, let's say they've kicked the can for the third time.
Yes.
Last month, moving it back to early next month. The hope is they'll quit kicking the can. When we met back in early January, you had asked a similar question, and I said, I don't see them getting a deal done, and that I could see a shutdown occurring, but maybe one more extension. And here we are, no shutdown, but another extension. At some point, the ladies and gentlemen in Congress have to grow up and actually get it done. And I have a little bit more hope for the deadlines in March than I did for those back in January and before that back in December. But there's still a lot going on, with a presidential election this year, that the disagreements are going to continue, and the dysfunction is going to follow, and that's going to hurt all of us, including the economy. So, again, I think we need to be cautious. We see the market at the end of the year being more positive than it is today. But Congress is just so dysfunctional at the moment, and let's remember one thing, Steve, you and I are the ones that are responsible for putting the people in Congress.
Yes.
We voted for them.
Right.
And the irony is that all of us blame the other members, but not our own, because we think our own congresswoman or congressman or senator are great, but it's all those others that are causing the problem.
You know, Ray, it seems like the only tool the Republicans have would be to shut the country down. But if the Democrats know that they're not going to do that, then I don't see where the negotiations are. It's just a matter of who has the most, if you've got more Democrats or if you've got more Republicans. It's a very small margin now. But if the Democrats know the Republicans aren't going to shut the country down, that takes a lot of their negotiating away from them, doesn't it?
Well, I'm not betting on the Republicans in the House not shutting the government down. That coalition of very conservative Republicans, and I'm going to say which is a relatively small group of about 15, but who have friends within the Republican Party, maybe another 80 or so, that are sympathetic to that, but don't want the dysfunction, but have clearly voted with that caucus.
Yes.
And if that happens, it would require most Democrats and those remaining Republicans to pass legislation to keep things going. And of course, that's what got McCarthy out of office last fall.
Yes.
Somehow Speaker Johnson has avoided that in the short run, but is always prone to being kicked out of the speakership, and again leading to all kinds of issues. I lead a company. I lead a company with 31 people. I don't want to suggest that it's as complicated as the government is, because it clearly isn't. But I do understand what leadership is, and how you continue to move things forward under the worst of circumstances, as we've done for over 37 years at Provise. And I can only hope that Congress figures it out one day and does it themselves. But it's very disappointing, because it's truly a lack of leadership, notwithstanding what all of them say on both sides of the aisle.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Well, Ray, your show always goes by so fast. Tell people how they can reach you and your website.
Sure. Thank you, Steve. You can reach us at provise.com. You can see it running across the screen, and there's our telephone number, 800-633-3049, and provise.com. Give us a call. You're entitled to a complimentary 1-hour consultation with us in Clearwater or our Tampa offices, or by Zoom. And we would be more than happy to let you learn more about what we do and how we do it. And so, Steve, we welcome folks to give us a call again at 800-633-3049.
Ray, we are so blessed to have you, your knowledge, and the way you explain things. Thank you so much. And we'll see you again next week. We're going
to be back on again next Monday morning.
Next Monday morning. Have a good week, Ray. God bless.
Thank you. You as well. Bye-bye.
Thank you. And we are going to go to break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about personal injury. We have two of the finest personal injury attorneys. We'll be right back.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
And we are back. This is the Ask the Expert show. I'm your host, Steve-O. We are going to, this next show, we're going to be doing a personal injury show. Our two experts have been with us nearly a year. And I got to tell you, it's such a pleasure to listen to them educate us when it comes to auto accidents, or if it comes to slip and falls, dog bites. Auto accidents can be motorcycle accidents, truck accidents, and it's really important that you have someone that really knows what they're doing. And we have really found that out firsthand. My fiance was rear ended, and we have, I feel so experienced after doing Lauren and Angela's show, our personal injury attorneys. Rebel, are they backstage yet?
Yes.
Okay. Um, I'm so glad now, even after experiencing this, knowing we have such knowledgeable attorneys. And let me welcome them to the show right now. Oh, good. You know what? I didn't know till right now. We have both of you. We have double barrel today, which is really wonderful. Lauren, good to see you. Angela, good to see you.
Good morning.
I got to tell you, I have gotten, I feel like I'm becoming an expert after your show, because I told you my fiance went through an auto accident. And boy, I got to tell you, there are a lot of people who either don't have insurance or they don't have the right insurance. And we happen to be hit from behind. And it was so funny, the stories that people come up with right away, right after the accident. And just your show has really brought my knowledge way up. So I know it's doing that for our listeners and viewers. First of all, tell people about your firm.
Well, Steve, good morning. I'm Angela Zervos and, of course, Lauren Calta. And between the two of us, we've been practicing personal injury for, what is it, Lauren? 30-something, 31 years for you, 32?
Yeah.
27 years for me. So really long time. We started our own practice in the early months of 2017, and that's exclusively what we do is practice personal injury, which encompasses, of course, car accidents, slip and falls, trip and falls, medical malpractice, anything along those lines where the negligence of one person causes injury to another. And so we love what we do. We're good at what we do, passionate about what we do. And we like to fight when we feel like we're getting bullied by the insurance companies. And so rather than settle cases short, that's what separates, I think, a really good personal injury attorney from another.
One of the things that I've learned, Lauren, is there's so many different areas of personal injury. I mean, it could be nursing home, it could be wrongful death. Tell people the different areas that you cover.
Well, there's your typical motor vehicle accidents, where if somebody ran a red light, someone got rear-ended, someone made a left turn in front of you. You have your slip or trip and falls, which are premise liability cases where you get hurt on somebody else's property, and it's because they did not keep that property safe for people like you. There's motorcycle accidents, there's trucking accidents, there's dog bite incidents, there's wrongful death, which is a death that occurred from any of those type of accidents. There's nursing home litigation, there's medical malpractice, there's medical malpractice that results in a death, which then becomes another wrongful death matter. Anywhere we handle anything where somebody gets hurt or unfortunately killed through the negligence or wrongdoing of other people.
That also includes boating accidents,
Boating accidents, that's
construction.
maritime law. That's something that we don't typically handle, but we can work with other attorneys for you to get that done. That's a very specific niche in the law.
So if somebody is in a boating accident, that would be maritime law, probably.
If it's far enough out in the waters, yes, it's
Okay.
maritime.
So someone who's on a local lake or something, that would come under your jurisdiction.
Sure,
Okay.
sure. But
And
something on
I
a
know,
cruise boat normally is if you get injured on a cruise boat, that's usually maritime.
and I know also construction accidents, which with all the construction work that goes on down here, is another area that you cover.
Oh, we actually have one case right now that's pending in litigation where a young lady and her family were driving, visiting from South Carolina up in Hernando County. And there was extensive road work being done to expand the roadways. And it wound up that there was lightning from a rainstorm. It took out a battery source, an uninterrupted power supply battery backup. The traffic lights went out, and there was a fatal collision with members of her family and a truck that went through the intersection at the same time they did. And because of the construction, the lights were out. And there should have been a battery backup, and there wasn't. And now we're in litigation with 9, 10, 11, Angela, defendants.
Defendants, yep.
And
All pointing the finger, and they're all pointing the finger at everybody else. Nobody wants to take responsibility for not having checked the battery, inspected it like it was supposed to be inspected, and replace it.
And there's also potential liability on the truck driver because he was familiar with that intersection, knew it was a major intersection, and his truck was not up to federal codes for the trucking industry. So it really shouldn't have been on the road. So we have a number of parties that are responsible for failing to do what they were supposed to do to help avoid an accident such as this, where 2 people were killed.
You know, you have to do so much investigative work in your area of law. And the reason why I say that is you do a lot of work before you even get to trial. And you do everything on a contingency basis. So when they come to your office, they don't have to write a check
No, we front
until
all the
you
costs.
basically finish the job.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you do a lot of work without any, I would say, out of pocket work until the case is resolved.
Well, Angela and I have always taken the position that if you don't prepare every case as if you're going to trial, then if you need to go to trial, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. And again, I think that's one of the things that differentiates our firm from other firms is that we prepare from the beginning, not just when there's an insufficient offer and your only other choice is to litigate.
And you do charge a little bit more if you have to go to court, but boy, there's a lot of out of pocket expense you've taken to when you get to that point going to court.
Well, Steve, yeah, that's true. And what happens is it's a tiered fee, and it's set by the Florida Bar, the Florida Supreme Court. So no matter what attorney that you go to for personal injury, the fee is going to be the same. And it's a sliding scale. So, if it's under $1 million and the case settles, the fee is a third, or 33 1/3%. Once the case goes into litigation, meaning a lawsuit has to be filed because it wouldn't settle for whatever reason, the fee goes to 40%. So the fee isn't increased only if you go to trial. It goes to 40% once the lawsuit is filed and the defense files their answer to the complaint. But, it's funny because a lot of people don't realize that we don't set the fees. In other words, we don't set our own
Right.
fees. So they'll go shopping for attorneys to see who's going to give them the best deal. Meanwhile, we all get paid the same. So for people out there who are looking for an attorney, what you should be looking for is courtroom experience. That's really what you need to be looking for.
Angela, I'm so glad you said that, because I've told you about this before. There's a big Florida law firm that their commercials make you think that they've got better prices, they got better rates. And you're right, it's regulated by the state.
It is. It is. Some, people, there's a lot of people that think bigger is better, but Lauren and I don't really believe that. I think that we are able to give our clients way more one-on-one personal attention than some of the bigger law firms who, classify their clients with a file number. We don't use file numbers here. Our clients go by their names. And so, we're at an advantage, not being such a large firm. We're able to, again, talk to our clients when they call, email them personally, answer their questions personally. That's not this, you don't get that kind of attention when you hire a really big law firm. Typically, you don't.
We had a viewer, because he told me he watches your show all the time. He wanted to know, do you think that there's ever going to come a time where people who passed, who were in the hospital from COVID, and it fall under wrongful death?
I don't think so. There were very quickly, there were laws put into effect during COVID that make it impossible to file a lawsuit because of people who died because of the treatment of COVID or the lack thereof. Basically, because it was so new and so unprecedented that nobody knew how to treat it. Nobody knew what to do. So I don't think there's going to come a time when we're ever going to see, and Angela may differ with me on this, we haven't really spoken about it, but I don't think that you'll see a time when you'll be able to litigate for damages suffered as a result of treatment or non-treatment for COVID.
Is there also, we get a lot of people wanting to know about statute of limitations. Are there certain injuries, incidents that have a different statute of limitations? Or are they all the same in the state of Florida?
Interesting question, because forever and ever in Florida, it was 4 years, with the exception of a wrongful death and medical malpractice is a 2-year statute of limitations. And when we're talking about a statute of limitations, for people out there who don't know, that means what is the time frame that I have to actually bring a case? How long can I wait? And so for like a medical malpractice or a wrongful death, it's 2 years from the death. And medical malpractice, it's 2 years from when you knew or should have known that there was some sort of negligence by a medical practitioner, whether it's a hospital or a personal physician. For everything else, like car accidents, motorcycles, slip and fall, trip and falls, dog bites, it's always been 4 years. Until last March in 2024, where the Florida legislature basically did an overhaul and just changed a vast majority of the established personal injury rules and of evidence and a lot of the laws really that pertain to trials in personal injury matters. They went so far as to shorten it for car accidents and everything else from 4 years to 2. So for instance, if you got it, God forbid, into a car accident today, which is February 5th of 2024, you would have to have either your case settled by February 5th, 2026, or you would have to have your lawsuit filed on or before that day, or it's over. There's no excuses. There's no way to go, oh, well, I didn't know the time, it just escaped me. There's absolutely no way to remedy that. So the time frame has become much shorter now.
So I'm going to throw a question at you that everybody seems to have, I bet you we got about 10 to 15 people who basically ask the same question. Automobile rates, insurance rates are going sky high. Doesn't look like they're ever going to stop. Look, Lord, smiling. People are afraid when they're in an accident to report it to their insurance company. What do we tell them? Because they're afraid the rates are going to go up even higher.
Well, Steve, based on what you're telling me, they're going up whether they file a claim or not, right? And the whole premise of this tort reform, the House Bill 837 that was supposed to go, that went into effect back in March of 2024, one of the justifications behind it was, we're going to lower your insurance. How'd that work?
We're waiting.
It did nothing but strip personal injury victims of their rights, in our opinion. You pay for insurance. That's what you pay your premiums for. If you're not going to use it, what good is it serving you other than to get on the road?
That's good.
Right? Your insurance rates are going to go up anyway. And typically, the only large increases that you see are usually if you add a family member or a young driver to the policy, or if you were at fault for the accident. That's different because that's deemed a chargeable offense. But if you're not at fault and you are hurt and you want to treat, you have to treat through your no-fault insurance, which is your personal injury protection through your car insurance. And you should make that claim because they will pay 80% of your medicals up to $10,000. And it's law, actually, Florida law, that's mandatory as first payer on your medical bills. You have uninsured motorist coverage. The car that hit you doesn't have enough BI or doesn't have any bodily injury coverage. Make your claim. That's what you pay the premiums for. Protect yourself and use it.
I love the way you put that. That makes so much sense. People are worried. Everything is going up. I mean, homeowners insurance, everything is going up. And it's amazing that it's funny. I've learned all the new excuses why somebody hit somebody too. It's amazing the things that you say to the other driver right after the accident. I want to get to slip and falls because we get people asking about slip and falls. What should someone do if they fall in a store, let's say? What's the first thing they should do?
Well, Steve, the first thing that they need to do is try and figure out if, they're okay. Do they need emergency medical attention? A lot of times people get humiliated or they're embarrassed because they're sitting on the floor and they're in public and they feel like they've done something wrong and, oh my God, I got to get up and walk away. You kind of need to take a second before you jump off the floor, make sure that you're okay, because your adrenaline starts rushing, and you've got, you could have realistically a pretty significant injury. I'll give you an example. I have a client right now who took a nasty fall and managed to get herself up, probably within 30 seconds or so. Nobody really saw her fall. It turned out that she had fractured her femur, which is the strongest bone in your body. And she got up, was walking around. Not only that, but she actually tore the hamstring off of her pelvic bone. And because her adrenaline was rushing so much, and she did feel some pain, and she was able to walk, she didn't think she needed emergency medical care at that time. And lo and behold, of course, we're in litigation now, and the store owner, who I won't name, this big chain is saying, well, she didn't even go by ambulance. She didn't go to a hospital. She didn't even see a doctor for a couple of days, in an effort to minimize her damages. So the first thing you do is you make sure that you're okay. You don't need medical attention. The second thing that you do is figure out why you slipped. Because a lot of times there'll be an employee right behind you cleaning up the mess. So you can't take a picture of it And then they come back and they say, there was nothing there. We don't know why she slipped. Meanwhile, somebody's right behind you with a mop or a big bunch of paper towels or whatever it is. Figure out you're okay. Figure out what you slipped on. Take pictures. Find witnesses. If there was anybody who saw you fall, saw you trip, and they come up to you and they say, are you okay? Don't let them walk away. Get their name. Can I have your name? Can I have your phone number? And then go to management and fill out an incident report.
The pictures and witnesses are so important, Steve, because you'd be surprised by how many times Angela and I have heard, oh, that camera that's hanging over the door, yeah, that doesn't work. That hasn't worked for a really long time. So, or it just didn't pick up that area. We're not really sure why, because it shows you were at fault. That's why. So, like Angela said, the pictures, the witnesses, so important.
Steve, can I say something? I was this
Please.
morning when I was getting ready this morning, and I was thinking about the show. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been on. I was thinking about how we talk about a lot of the same things sometimes, and I was thinking about how personal injury attorneys really a lot of the times we get a bad rap. Oh, you're an ambulance chaser. Oh, you're a personal injury lawyer. But you know what? The people who categorize us that way or describe us that way, they really need to understand what we're dealing with on the other side. I mean, until it's you or a family member that's getting bamboozled, I'm going to say it, bamboozled by an insurance company, witnesses who all of a sudden say, I didn't see anything. Oh, they cleaned up the floor like we were just talking about. They come right behind you, they clean it up, and then they say there was nothing there. I mean, that's what we have to do. We have to help people. I mean, we've got to have an understanding of the shenanigans, really, and the shady tactics that we have to deal with these billion-dollar insurance companies. Somebody's got to fight them. And somebody's got to stand up for the person who was hurt and for whatever, lost their jobs, lost the ability to live pain-free. I mean, we've seen clients who can't walk the same anymore. They've given everything up. They're 50 years old and they live like they're 75 now. I mean, and we've got to battle with these big insurance company lawyers, So I wanted to say that because I wanted people to recognize.
I agree. You make the playing field level.
Purpose. We really do. We know, Lauren and I know the cases where, somebody's pulling the wool over our eyes, or if it's a client that, it's not on the up and up. We get to say we don't want to get involved in that type of a case. But for the most part, the cases that Lauren and I take are legitimately injured people who need help because they can't fight the insurance industry on their own.
I think about all the time. I told you my son, who thought he was the greatest salesman, negotiator, and why pay an attorney? I can do it myself. He went up against the big insurance company lawyers, thinking he was hot stuff. And I told him, I said, you got to get an attorney. Well, he handled it himself. And he will tell you right now, he lost so much money by trying to do it himself. And he wished he would have hired a personal injury attorney. I just looked at the clock. God, this time goes by so fast. Tell people how they can reach your office and your website.
You can give us a call at 727-937-3171. And our website is www.zervosinjurylaw.com. And Steve, for all those folks that are calling in or texting you or messaging or chatting with questions about the show, following the shows, we urge them to call the office. You don't have to wait another week or 2 weeks until we're on the show. We don't charge to answer questions. So,
and you will be back next week too.
Yeah, but we definitely encourage you to give us a call at 727-937-3171.
You ladies are the best. We are so blessed to have you. Hey, we'll see you guys next week.
Will do.
Thank you. Have a great week, Steve, and everyone out there.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's They are so good. The ladies at Service and Culta. Hey, that's it for us today. We'll be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts. Have a wonderful week, everybody. God bless.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.